Okie dokie. All right. So, really, this coming out story video has been in the making for over a decade. I've wanted to do this for such a long time, and I guess the time was not until now. So, I'm glad I'm doing it now. But I want to share my story because in hopes that it helps somebody else out there, and it's important that we share our story. So, I'm going to try my best to speak my truth. And and I just want to thank all the incredible humans out there that shared their stories on YouTube as well. YouTube has been such a great place to share your stories, and hearing some coming out stories from different people it's just, some of it was so heartbreaking, and it also too, it's just like, we're not alone. We're not alone, and it's so important to remember that, because I remember for me how it felt to be, I felt alone. I felt like nobody else was experiencing what I was experiencing, but we'll get to that. So let me just start from the beginning. I'll try not to take too long with this, but once I get going, I get going. But So anyways, I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona. I was born in Glendale, Arizona, and I grew up in North Phoenix. And I knew I was gay at a young age. I knew I liked guys. I wouldn't necessarily I knew I was gay, but I was like, I like guys. And it did not feel unnatural to me at all. It felt normal, because it is normal. But at the time, I grew up in a very born again Christian family. I went to a Christian private school, very eccentric church, people speaking in tongues, filled with the Holy Spirit. So being being born again Christian was a big thing growing up for me. And I want to state that, and that is my journey, and this is what I've been through, and I'm sharing what I've been through, and these are my opinions about my experience. And going to the Christian private school at a young age, there's just lots of things that were telling me, don't be you. Don't be you, deny who you are, which was weird, because I felt very much in touch, like I knew who I was. But it was, and my family is very, very against being gay. And I remember I came home from school in time. This is like in second grade, I think. And this girl had been calling me fairy. I had no clue what fairy was. I was like, oh, obviously this is not a good thing, because she was not nice about it. People could sense I was gay, because I am. So like people, for sure, there was some kids that for sure told me that they didn't like who I was. And it is what it is. But I remember I came home and I told my mom, what is fairy? And she was like, oh, you're not a fairy. And I didn't get any explanation beyond that. And I was like, so I obviously was getting hints like who you are, like you're just shame started to come into my life at a young age. And then as I got older, I remember I used to be very, very involved in the church, and I used to watch Trinity Broadcast Network growing up. And I heard things about being gay not being good. So there's just a lot of things that were getting into my heart that were like, who you are is bad. And I remember feeling, I just want to say this, and it's so sad, and I'm glad I'm not there anymore, but I remember feeling like something was terribly wrong. I needed a therapist, like at a young age. Like I was like, I'm gonna need a doctor. I'm gonna need to fix me. And I do remember one time that I got filled with the Holy Spirit, and I wrote a letter that night saying that God had healed me from being gay. And I think this is like 11, I think. And I wrote it and I shared it with my mom, and she never talked about it. And we wound up talking later about this, and I'll get to that. But that was really, it's really traumatizing. So there was a lot of things that were happening at a young age that were traumatizing. And I want to state this too, is that when you know who you are, like when you know that you're gay, for me, to deny that and hide that is traumatizing. So as a child especially, it was traumatizing to me to have to hold secrets, to be secretive of that. And like I wish I could have gone to prom with a guy. That was never going to happen. And and to not be able to be who you are is traumatizing. and I've had to work on that, and thank goodness for therapy. But I've really come to learn that those were traumatizing experiences for me. And also too, I remember at a young age, because I'm a child of the 80s, aging myself here, but growing up in the 80s and 90s, there was no internet. Internet came later in the 90s, and there was nothing that was really I wasn't able to search to find anything to help me or to understand. And so all the signs were, yeah, don't be you. There was Will and Grace on TV, and Dawson's Creek introduced a gay character, which I was so excited about and journaled about. I will never forget that. But the AIDS epidemic was occurring from the 80s and 90s. And I remember you just heard nothing but horrible things about that. And that traumatized me and scared me. And I had to work on that as a gay man, how I was terrified of that because no one was properly educating. And so I just want to state that is, there was a lot of shame that I started, shame and fear. And shame and fear can really lead you to some really dark places. And I kept having to just try to survive. And I would have never come out in high school because I saw somebody come out in high school and they were horrific to this guy, and he wound up leaving the school. And it was traumatizing. Again, I need to state that because I think sometimes people don't take into account like, oh, well, yeah, oh, you're out now. Yay, everything. The experience leading up or the horrible things is really, really sad. And I'll never forget watching this kid and, who was so strong to be himself in front of everybody, and the horrific way that they treated him. It was horrific. And that's why I want to make this video is to talk about these things and to shed light if you don't know. And it's important that we discuss them. And so I know for me, seeing that traumatizing again, I was being raised born again Christian. I was devoted to it. I am no longer a Christian, to each their own. But for me, everything was like, I was so afraid. I used to think that demons were around me trying to tempt me to, when I would think gay thoughts, that they were tempting me to do evil things because I internally was thinking that being gay was evil, traumatizing, absolutely terrifying and traumatizing. And there was a lot of things. So with that said, once I graduated from high school, made it out of there, and also too, just so you know, if you're on my channels, and some people know from my videos, like I'm a dancer. I started dance at a young age, so thank goodness for dance. That's the thing that truly helped me at a young age. Dance. I started dance when I was 7. Thank the universe I was able to do that, because that was the thing that helped me connect to my true self, even when I couldn't connect to my true self or understand myself. And movement, connecting to music, that discipline of dance really, really helped me. The arts, musicals, Broadway, all of that really, really helped me understand myself and stayed connected to that. And I am a firm pusher of that the arts will help us in many different ways, and it really helped me a lot. So with that, I wound up moving to Los Angeles when I'm coming up to my coming out story now. I wound up moving to Los Angeles at 18 to kind of do, as a performer, do some things in LA. And I knew to always throw myself into church. So I threw myself into church at a church in LA. And that's where it started really getting toxic for me. And what happened was that I met this guy in church, and we, you can, when somebody's like you, and we wound up having this kind of really toxic, relationship. And so, and I don't want to say any names, that's not important. The important thing for me was that I was going to church, hearing all these things, hooking up with somebody in church. It was all very drinking a lot because to numb these feelings, very toxic. And then I used to tell my mom at the time, and if I was talking about anybody that I was dating or whatever, I would always say person. A lot of denial, and no one really wanted to talk about the truth. And I would say person. And this is a couple years going into this church, and I was talking about this guy, but I would say person. I accidentally said his name, and I don't know. Obviously it was meant to be in the time. And there was a lot of things that were pushing me to come out, and to each their own. That is another thing. You will know when the time is right for you, when you need to share your truth, and don't let anybody push you into sharing your truth until you are ready. That is for sure. And the universe was like, it's time, because I accidentally said his name, and I will never forget saying his name on the phone. And then I just kind of kept going, but I was like, oh no, like I said it. And then that caused a horrible, like my mom didn't say anything at the time. And then we got off the phone, and then, we had to speak, we had to really talk about it. So then that happened, and then my mom freaked out, and then it was mess. It was just an absolute mess. But the thing is, I felt strangely, because I needed to be free. I needed to speak my truth, but I couldn't at the time. And that was my coming out. And it just kind of, but what happened after that is that I was so depressed. I was so depressed. I was so full of anxiety. I was so fearful. I really didn't obviously know how to be my true authentic self. And I was hiding in so many other things from me that were not helping me. And so that was the moment that kind of pushed me to step out of that comfort zone of depression. I was sticking into all of these things. And I want to state this too. There was a time in my life during that period of like 18 to 21, going to this church, hooking up with this guy, doing all the things that were denying myself. And I take ownership as well. I was making the choices, and I didn't know any better. I was trying things that I thought were going to work for me. And but the thing is that I will never forget, I had a closet mirror door in my apartment, and I could not look at myself. And I would put wrapping paper up on it, and and I didn't think any differently of it at the time. Like I was like, I don't want to look at myself. And I had one mirror, but not like whole closet mirrors of doors. I was like, no. And I put wrapping paper up on it so I didn't have to look at myself. That's there's a lot of things now I look back and I'm like, ooh, a lot of things I wasn't able to deal with at the time. But when I finally came out that way, it was not easy, and it didn't suddenly get better after that. However, I started speaking my truth. But I want to state too that I did turn to alcohol and drugs for a long time. And that was not helpful because I was in so much shame. I could barely look at myself in the mirror or want to think of listening to my heart. And I would numb myself. And I've had to work on that as well. And I want to just be honest about that, if anybody's feeling that. But when I wound up moving home, because everything was exploding in Los Angeles, and I was 21, and I wound up moving home. And I will never forget, my parents are still very much strong, born-again Christians, and I knew what I was getting myself into when I went home. And I will never forget sitting with them and saying, I don't want it I'd come out, really, and I said, I don't want to talk about it, and it's not something we should talk about. That was my best solution at the time. And but the thing is eventually later we had to deal with it, and it still has not been good at all, and I'll get to that. But the thing is that I threw myself back into dance because I knew that was the constant thing in my life. That has been the constant thing in my life of a safe haven for me, dance. And I'll never forget when I went home and I was experiencing that. I was so depressed. I'd sleep a lot. I had anxiety because I'd been dealing with so many other things, and I had anxiety inside that was terrifying. I could remember feeling anxiety just like in my body, and I was like, sleep or like go party, because I didn't want to feel anything. Or throw myself into the arts, which is a healthy version. That was healthy for me. But I would go to this ballet school in Phoenix, and that was a safe haven for me. And I would do musicals, and that was a safe haven for me. But when I was outside of that, I was going through a lot. And luckily, what happened right after that is that I wound up, I knew I needed to get out of Arizona again. Like I was like, you got to get out or it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for you mentally. And so I auditioned to dance on a cruise ship. I always wanted to move to New York and be on Broadway. So that was like my dream. And I was like, you need to get out of Arizona. and I needed to save money. So I wound up going on a cruise ship. I got a contract, amazing contract with Royal Caribbean. I'll never forget this. It was a while ago now. But it was the best segue for me into before moving to New York City. And that is where I started finding myself more. That is where I was still very much born again Christian, but I was still very much dealing with a lot of stuff that was going to take time. I probably need therapy. No doubt I needed therapy, but I didn't have access to that at the time. And there was a lot of things that I probably needed to deal with, but the best thing is that I got myself out of there. And I got myself around a really great group of people. The cast on that ship was amazing, and they helped me they really loved and accepted me for who I was. I wouldn't even curse at the time. I remember that. And to each their own, but I was such a good Christian. And I would, I remember having my Bible and the whole thing, and I wouldn't curse. I was but I was a mess. I was such a mess. But the thing is that I'm glad I kept moving forward. And eventually once I got to New York City, that's where it really started to click in, and I started making dreams come true, but I also started finding myself, and that is where I wound up I stepped away from Christianity. That was not an easy thing for me at the time. It is the best choice for me because it did not work for me. It did not, and I just want to state that because I was raised with such, this is what you must believe, and there was a lot of things, especially being a gay man, specifically, that were deny you, and I had to step away from it, and it was the best thing for me. And here I am, it's taken time. Therapy's been super helpful, so I am a firm believer in therapy and working through those things that I have to talk about. I have to get it out. I've got to discuss it. It hasn't been easy. Thank goodness for dance. I've been married to this incredible man, Jonathan, for 13 years now. It's been a long time. And even when Jonathan and I got married, gay marriage was only legal in some states. And, and that's another thing too, with my parents, it has not been easy at all. And I've really had to set boundaries. My parents still very much believe that being gay is not of God and that it's not good, and they didn't come to Jonathan and I's wedding. So I want to state that if anybody's going through that out there, I feel you, I understand, and my parents and I don't talk today. We haven't, I've learned to say it just for today, but I've really had to make sure to take care of my life and now my husband. So that's the best choice for me, and everybody makes the choices that work for them, and that works for me today. But also too, it's taken me a long time to be able to make a video like this. That's the truth. I teach a lot, and I sometimes say these things in class, but to make a video like this, I've kind of always kept things to me. I've talked about them in therapy or whatever with friends, but I do feel like I need to share my truth, and it is important, because if you're going through anything out there, you're not alone, and find what works for you. Take care of yourself, and really make sure that you protect yourself. You are important, and you are not wrong. You are not sinful. You are not, God loves you, whatever that is to you. You are loved by the universe. And, I have an amazing group of friends, new family that I love, that love me. I've learned that too. I've created new families, and that love and accept me unconditionally. And that is a beautiful thing. And also too, and I just want to state this, is that I did lose friends along the way too. A lot of people want to, oh, you're gay, I accept you for being gay, but our protection as gay people in this world, or the LGBTQ community in this world, in this country specifically, laws that are put into place, everything. And, I've lost friends that just are like, oh yeah, you can be gay, but, and that's not, obviously, that is horrible. So gay marriage, gay marriage hasn't always been here. And I remember my parents voted against gay marriage in Arizona, and I'll forget that. That was a crazy thing. And I was engaged at the time to Jonathan. So there you go. But the thing is that, find the people that love and accept you for who you are, and unconditionally, and that support you and that want to see your rights protected and that want to see you thrive in this world. And I hope that we will get to a place where you can be who you are at a young age, and that you're not going to be bullied. There's a fantasy world. Nothing's perfect, but I wish I could have had those high school movies, the football player and the cheerleader. Like, as a gay man, I wish that could be my life in real, and but we're still working on things. We have moved forward, and I hope we continue to move forward. And just if you have any friends or family that are gay, just the extra support is always important. Just saying I love you and for who you are, and I'm there for you. You don't need to solve everything, but like, just that the unconditional love is so important. So I think I tried to say everything truthfully and honestly, and again, it's not always easy to open up about these things, but that helicopter is quite low there. But again, if you're watching this and you related to anything that I said, know that you are not alone. And I am so grateful for the life I have today. I'm so grateful that I can sit here and look into this camera and say I am a proud gay man and not feel, and I can look, and I own that. I'm not ashamed. I will sing that to the world. I am proud to be married to my amazing husband, Jonathan. I am proud of the life that I am creating as a human and as a gay man, and as a spiritual person in this world. That, as long as we live in love, that's important. So, and I do remember how it feels to I remember the day I could never imagine sitting here doing something like this. So I'm happy that I can do that today. And I hope that, it can help someone. So, sending you lots of love on your journey, and you are loved, and I love you.